Hey there, here I am back again for more fun. So it is that time of year again, and I was reflecting in a brief moment of introspection, and I thought to myself, hey, I'm really lucky. I get to do really fun things and meet really fun people, and for that I am truly grateful. So today I'm going to bring you some of my favorite segments from the past. It was a tough decision, but I narrowed it down to 3, plus the latest installment of the Advocate Seat Filler. So here is my countdown of my top 3 picks. But first up, take a look at this. I hightailed it over to Brooklyn, well, Bushwick to be exact, and had an awesome afternoon hanging out with graffiti artist simply known as Dick Chicken. He gave me a drawing lesson and my own secret graffiti artist name, which you'll have to watch to find out what it is. So working in reverse order, here is my favorite number 3, Dick Chicken. I'm here today with notorious graffiti artist known as Dick Chicken or Richard Poultry or DC, and we're going to talk about his creations and his art and what inspired him to make this crazy, really funny tag that you can see all around New York City. So thanks for sitting down and talking with me today.
My pleasure.
We had talked a little bit about the sort of inspiration and where this came from, and tell everybody, like, how did you come up with Dick Chicken?
Well, at the time I was like drawing chickens a lot. I think I was drawing like I was getting to this mindset of like what sort of things were really prevalent in like our culture and mainstream culture. So I drew a chicken and I was like, I'm gonna put something crazy on this chicken. It's gonna be, and so like I don't know, I was just being silly. And when most good things happen, you're not really trying. I just kind of drew the stick on top of it, and immediately I started laughing and kind of knew that it had like a spark, had something to it.
And then what made you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to just put it everywhere I possibly can? Had you done graffiti art before? Or?
Not really, no. I mean, I was enamored by the world. I kind of paid attention to it because I was visual. I've always been a visual artist, so I've always made stuff. And I think this was just a certain part of the art world that I was really interested with because it had like kind of a life that didn't exist anywhere else. It had like, this international youth culture kind of bringing all these things to light, and I just wanted to take part. So.
And how quickly after you initially did it, did you begin to see the reaction?
Immediately. I remember the first one that I did was out in this neighborhood actually, and it showed up on Flickr like the next day.
Wow.
And I was like, Flickr? Like, wait, so I put something on the street and somebody puts it up on the internet? I was like, this is great. So I started doing more and more, and then I'd get more and more pictures, and then I would be more and more excited. And each time I would be like, this is amazing, like people are paying attention to this. I could hardly actually believe it. And the more and more attention it got, the more and more encouragement I think that fostered.
We talked a little bit before we sat down about art and what you hope people get out of it. What do you want people when they see a Dick Chicken tag on the street or just art in general? Like, what is your thoughts around like what we're supposed to take away?
Yeah, I think originally what I was telling you was like is a great litmus test because it kind of right off the bat when you see it you react and you either go positive or negative, and that kind of shows you it's like kind of holds up a mirror and like lets you project onto it. So you'll either react positively and laugh, or you'll react negatively and get all angry. But largely that's your own reaction.
Right.
Like you're responsible for your own reaction. Now what that emotion is, I mean, I guess that pertains to the individual art, but science reassures, art provokes. And I think every artist is kind of has a personal mission to answer the question, like, what is art?
And you're going to show me how to draw. I can't draw with shit, by the way. Just
No,
so you
but
know. Like,
I noticed you're a lefty, though.
I am a lefty.
So we'll figure it out.
All right.
I will teach you how to do it.
Cool.
Yeah, no doubt. So first things first, we're going to show you how to draw Dick Chicken. Now,
did I mention I do not know how to draw at all, right? Okay.
Yeah, you did. So what I'm going to do,
really bad handwriting.
First I'm going to show you how I draw a Dick Chicken,
Okay.
and then I'll walk you kind of through the stages of drawing a Dick Chicken. So like, What I do is I always start with the urethra first. I don't know why, but I just make it like a comma.
Fantastic.
I don't know why, because I feel like it's kind of open.
Okay.
It's like if you pinched it, it's kind of talking to you. That's like where I go with that. Right, so then I do the top. I always do the top first, and that's kind of what it looks like, a bell, kind of, right? Like the Brits call it a bell end.
Right.
That's what they call it, like a
The
cow.
head of a penis?
Yeah, penis. They call it
Okay.
a bell end. I don't know. So yeah, so I kind of make the bell, right?
Okay.
I do like the shaft next, and you can do whatever you want.
see, okay.
I kind of like let it sway because
Okay.
it's like action. It's like
Right.
moving, you know. Just a little line to indicate volume.
Okay.
A little girth there, and then I swing out this big line for the body. I make another similar smaller circle and put the little wing on, and then a third circle. So it's really circular. Then I do the Charlie Brown right there for the leg, because that's the drumstick.
Okay.
And then 2 more circles for the bones of the. And then I just repeat it on this side. Only now you're going to see the front. So it's a circle, and like kind of a modified rectangle. Connect that, and then the bones again. Okay, so what I will have you do is first, since we're going to work with pencil first, because it's easier. Whenever you're going to make a circle, you just kind of start to move your hand in a circle, in a circular way, and then just kind of lower the pencil down slowly, and kind of make your circle. Yeah, that's great. Exactly. Now we're going to do the same thing, only you're only going to do that half motion, so just kind of make that half motion, not the full circle, back and forth like a moon. Now we're going to make 2 smaller circles, one on the front,
I'm not happy with my...
We'll get in there and connect that in a minute. So make a circle on top of this one, like right in here. Dope, looks so good. So then now we can kind of like round out. I think that line looks good.
This one?
Yeah. So next we're gonna put, the money maker on there. This could be however you want to do it, If you want it to curve off to the side, or if you want to draw a big veiny triumphant bastard on there, it's all you. Do whatever you want. So
It's a good thing your face is covered, because you were like, oh, I've turned red. I'm turning like 20 shades of red.
yeah, no, whatever you want, man. Because we're working from the bottom up, we're gonna do the shaft next.
Okay.
So let's kind of pick kind of where you want your shaft to start. It's easier that way. Get both sides on there.
I have a huge head.
Yeah, it's really big. It's like
Yeah, that's a huge
that looks like
head.
a mushroom. It looks great. I think we can work on that though, right?
This one's better, right?
That's much better.
See,
Yeah. I think you're doing a good job. Yeah. So what I would do is this: like when you make the shaft, right? Just come out to a rounded tip like that, like it's a finger. Weird. I've never really described this in this much detail before. So do you have your tag name? We got to come up with a tag name for you.
I don't have one.
Well, what's your favorite food? Pizza. And what's your favorite sexual act or body genitalia part? I'm really thinking sex act is good. Like
teabagging?
Teabag pizza is pretty good. I think we can do better.
Okay.
I think we can do better.
Rimming?
Rim job pizza. That's
job
perfect.
pizza.
Rim job pizza is awesome.
right.
Yeah, so now you got to come up with a tag. Go to town.
All right.
Rim job pizza. I'm just going to call you RJP from now on. Big chicken and rim job pizza together at last. Like Batman and Robin.
So, for all you guys out there wondering what he really looks like, I can tell you that Dick Chicken is totally hot. Next up in the number 2 spot is singer-songwriter who has literally become an international sensation since I sat down with her last year. Her name is Ellie Goulding, and her new album, Halcyon, is a huge hit, and she also has a song in Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2. So here's my chat with the one, the only, Ellie Goulding.
I had a way there.
Question: what is it like to have the biggest and fastest selling album in Great Britain? Well, I sure as hell wouldn't know, but my guest today would, and she is the singer, songwriter, and music sensation from across the pond, Ellie Goulding. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to sit and talk with me.
No problem.
I know you've got to be crazy busy, you've got a sound check, and you've got a super cool show here tonight at Terminal 5 that is sold out.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
So tell us, like, how does that feel? Like, you're in America, you're playing this amazing venue, and
It feels amazing to sell out a New York show. I don't think I even dreamed of playing a show in New York or even being here, yeah. When I was young, I often wondered what America was like, and now I've toured it like 1.5 times, so it's very sudden but very cool. For 3,000 people to want to come to a show is just mind-blowing, I think.
And how did it happen? I mean, here you are, this girl in this small town in England, and then now you're playing this beautiful venue. Like, what happened? What was this journey like for you?
It kind of happened really quickly, but also really kind of over a few years, because I've sang kind of my whole life. Not like professionally or like with a singing teacher, or I didn't do things like that. I just was always singing to myself. When you've got like 15 years of singing constantly to yourself, you know, in the shower, in the bath. Just when you build it up for that long, you know, you end up with some kind of voice, and I've just kind of been moulding it into what it is now, which is kind of just, it's all over the place, my voice.
And do you ever look around and you're like, holy shit, like, I never thought this was gonna happen?
Yeah,
Do you?
all the time. But the thing is, it's a tough one, because when you're really busy and you've got loads on and everyone wants to meet you, and it's really lovely, but at the same time it affects you. Like, it kind of, if I'm like wandering around thinking, wow, this is awesome, like, it's just going to preoccupy me in a bad way, I think. So I just make sure that I'm always grounded.
And did you ever have sort of the opposite, where there were points in your career where you're like, oh man, this is just never gonna happen, what am I gonna do? Like,
yeah. Well, like when that album came out, before, like literally the week before it came out, I read like a terrible review, and I was like, oh my God, this is the worst. Like, that's it, my career's over, I'm gonna kill myself. And then, like, it just all happened, like in a good way. Like everything went fine, the album's done really well. We re-released it and it did even better, and so like that was silly. It was like something I shouldn't have read, but it really like affected me at the time. I was like, no.
well, I'm a firm believer, do not read the reviews. Like, you're
No,
not,
absolutely, but I
just
didn't. I was a very naive girl when I got into this game, and now I'm like, nothing can touch me.
Well, let's talk about your recent album, The Light. It's so beautiful, and there's a song on it called The Writer, which I absolutely fell in love with.
When I wrote that song, I think I arrived at my friend Johnny, he's a writer, and I arrived at his house like literally like in tears. It was a stressful time. I had no money whatsoever. I was a student. I was struggling really badly, and on top of it, there was a guy I liked who didn't like me back, and it just kind of added to my like, oh, everything is rubbish. So I wrote this song because I think that people that seem to be afraid of like writing really just sad love songs, and that's kind of what it is.
It's so beautiful. Like, I've been playing it over and over and over. And I'm like, uh-oh, am I gonna fall in? I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
The video for Starry Eyed is so beautiful. The one with you and this very beautiful man sitting in a field.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
he
stunning.
was a really good sport, actually.
In terms of your show, like, what do you do to prepare for, like, you know, being on the road, and how do you stay so healthy and fit and all of that?
It's quite hard to, but I make sure I eat well. I try and keep fit. I go to the gym, I run on the treadmill, I run outside. You have to. I don't know how anyone can survive tour without it. Like, I have to rest my voice, I have to rest, I have to sleep a lot, and I have to eat a lot and train a lot. I mean, I try and eat as well as I can, but some days when I'm really hectic, I just, you know, just stuff a big muffin in my mouth, like, because you gotta.
Absolutely. And you
you have a very specific organization called Ellie Runs, and
An organisation.
well, you know,
Sounds like
it's
dodgy.
organized.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
When I started out, I think the video I did for BBC Sound of 2010, because when I found out I'd won, they said, can you do this video for us, like, you know, talk more about you and stuff. They were like, so what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd quite like to run, that's my thing. So they got me running around the park, and then like, it kind of made me think that how innocent it was, how nice it was to do that. And so I kind of just embraced it and embraced the fact that people were so interested in it. And so I said to my fans that I was going to take them running with me just so that they could do something different. And it's just really nice to know that I've got so many people, young people into running in the UK, because they would never have done it otherwise.
Who are your musical influences? Like when you're growing up, like who did you listen to and who did you sort of emulate?
The radio, all the time, I listened to the radio. My parents didn't have because my parents divorced when I was 5. It wasn't like they both played, you know, like vinyl or like certain CDs, certain artists. There wasn't a moment of like hearing like a Beatles record and being like, oh my God, there was nothing like that. I've kind of just been on this crazy journey of music, and it's kind of what my album has amounted from.
Do you ever feel like, coming from England, do you ever feel that pressure of like, oh my God, you know, that sort of weight on your shoulders?
No.
Good.
No, should I? I don't know.
Good.
Maybe I should. I just,
No.
I work hard and I sing hard and I play hard. That's all I can do.
And it's not Goulding. She was really super cool. But before I reveal my top choice, I wanted to share with you our new segment, the Advocate Seat Filler. You know that I am a total show queen at heart. So these segments are really fun for me to do. So I hope you enjoy them as well. Here is my piece on the revival of Annie. I recently saw the Broadway revival of the musical Annie. Now, I grew up on this musical. I remember seeing Andrea McArdle on The Tonight Show when I was little. I'm not exactly sure why I was up that late. But anyway, I remember being so taken by her performance, can you say gay, and begging my parents to take me to New York to see the show. Well, lo and behold, not too long after, I came to New York, and my grandmother did take me to see the show, and it was the last show that we saw together, so it holds a special place in my heart. That's a long way of saying that I am a pushover for Annie. I've seen the movie and the revivals, and over the years kind of lost my taste for it. However, this latest incarnation has changed my opinion and brought me back to loving the show once again. This delightful and refreshing production, directed by James Lapine, was fun and lively and managed to avoid being sappy and overly sentimental. The cast is terrific. Leela Crawford as Annie is, well, amazing. A powerful little voice that literally filled the cavernous Palace Theater to the rafters. She's got the right amount of spunk and gumption without ever being cloying. I also really loved Anthony Warlow as Daddy Warbucks. He was sweet and had this wonderfully humane quality that made him so perfect, and his relationship with Annie was really super special. The orphans were all divine, again, somehow avoiding the usual cliches and sometimes amateurish quality that can pervade these little girls of Miss Hannigan's household. And then, of course, there is the wonderfully fun and evil troika, the boozy-floozy Miss Hannigan, her grifter brother Rooster, and his doll ma Lily. Katie Finneran, who won a Tony for her turn in Promises, Promises, is perfectly cast as Miss Hannigan. I defy you to find a funnier, more physically agile comedian currently working on Broadway. And full disclosure, I know Clark Thorell, who plays her con artist brother from way back, and I just think he's simply one of the best performers on Broadway, period. His Rooster is fun and funny, and when he moves, it is so dreamy. The Sets by David Corns is a fun pop-up book style where literally the pages are turning as Annie and Grace and the staff at the Warbucks mansion dance from room to room. I saw the show the weekend right after Hurricane Sandy, and I was reminded of Ben Brantley's review of Mamma Mia right after 9/11 and how he said that show was going to lift the spirits of New Yorkers and tourists alike at a really crucial moment in time. Well, I cannot imagine a more fitting tribute in this moment to this wonderful city of ours. This production of Annie is a tribute filled with hope and better days to come. Because after all, as Annie says, or rather sings, "The sun will come out tomorrow." Annie is playing at the Palace Theater. Go to anniethemusical.com for more information and to buy tickets now. Okay, so which interview is taking the #1 spot this year? Well, it has to go to none other than my chat with Andrew Bolton, the curator of one of my all-time favorite art exhibits, the Alexander Mcqueen Retrospective at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. This exhibit of Mcqueen's designs was truly one of the most spectacular events I've ever been to. And the chance to walk through this hard-to-get-into exhibit and learn so many details was truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So here it is, Andrew Bolton and Alexander Mcqueen.
Hey there, I'm standing outside New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art, arguably one of the most important cultural institutions, not only in New York City, but arguably the world. Tonight we're here for the Post-Pride event, which centers around the Richard Serra exhibit and the Alexander Mcqueen exhibit. So let's go inside and check it out.
I'm the Chief Audience Development Officer here at the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
And what exactly does that mean?
What I try and do is to make sure all our communities feel welcomed at our museum. We want to make sure that they think of this place as their second home, and that we have this wonderful institution right here in your backyard.
And tell us a little bit about tonight's event and why it's so important and why it's such a cornerstone to the museum.
This is our 4th year of having our LGBT event here at the museum, and we take pride in making sure that you're feeling like this is it, this is the place to be. And of course we have all the exhibitions and the artwork that tell about everyone's culture. So everyone can find a bit of themselves here at the museum.
You know, we stumbled through the Mcqueen exhibit, and are you guys overwhelmed at the response to that?
Isn't it amazing? We're just so proud of having that exhibition here. It's just, it'll change, I think, the way you look at art and the way you look at design.
It was really after he died, actually. We'd originally planned a trilogy of exhibitions where we looked at 3 designers who'd idealised a female form over a period of time. And then when Mcqueen died, we decided instead to do a retrospective that focused on his contributions to fashion. So it really was a response to his death. Mcqueen worked with a very close network of collaborators, and it was really important for the museum to work with them and to tap into their memories and just their ideas about him.
What is it about Alexander Mcqueen that you said, you know what, this is a perfect blend of fashion and art?
I mean, I think Mcqueen, more than many designers, I think he was able to look at fashion in a very different way. He saw fashion as a vehicle to express rather complex ideas and concepts. So fashion to Mcqueen wasn't just about wearability or about pragmatics or functionalism. It really was about instincts and about embedding clothes with emotion and with feeling. People are very responsive to Mcqueen's clothes because they feel they have this sort of shamanistic sort of association with them.
What about his actual sort of appreciation and understanding of this like female form? Because sometimes it's extremely exaggerated in some of his work.
So he looked to moments in fashion history where the body was so extreme and the body was very contorted in either corsets or bustles or panniers. There are moments that he really enjoyed. He liked the idea of extreme bodily sort of distortion.
Who do you think really were some of the great influences on his work?
Mcqueen, I think for his tailoring, he looked to people like Saint Laurent and to Adrian, the American designer. And for dressmaking, people like Dior, Balenciaga and Charles James. But Mcqueen's inspiration came from everywhere. And there's a famous story that part of one collection was actually inspired by a green sweater worn by the character Joey in the sitcom Friends. So his inspiration was everywhere. He was very voracious when it came to both high and low culture.
I do see some of this like Lee Bowery sort of thing in there as well.
Yeah, completely. Mcqueen, I know, admired Lee hugely, and he loved the punk scene as well, and the skinhead scene. He loved sort of subcultural movements, and I think part of the energy of Mcqueen's shows and his fashions are sort of trying to tap into the street culture of London.
He's also like really dedicated to Scottish roots as well.
His father was Scottish, and he was very engaged with his Scottish heritage. Often he would look to the darker aspects of Scottish history, like the Jacobite risings or the Highland clearances, very dark moments in Scottish history, so they tended to be the areas that he would look to.
How many people did it take to put this whole thing together?
Well, I think what's been so extraordinary, it was a real teamwork operation, where we worked very closely with Mcqueen's production designers for his runway shows, Sam Gainsbury and Joseph Bennett, on the actual scenography. I spoke an awful lot to Sarah Burton, the current head of the design company, to talk about Mcqueen's influences and how he worked, and Mcqueen's first employees. So we worked very close with this great team, and I think that the energy of the show really comes from this collaborative process, I think.
It's on everybody's must-do list this summer. And what do you think it is about the exhibit and his work that is just like drawing people from all over the world?
Mcqueen had a great following, and I think the circumstances of his death have created this sort of intensity around the actual exhibition. So it's almost become a pilgrimage site for many people. And the fact that the work itself was so extraordinary, I think what Mcqueen was able to do was marry the technical side of his craft with the conceptual side. So he was a true artist in that respect, and I think people are really appreciating the technical detail, but also his conceptual brilliance.
And what about the sort of collision, if you will, of like fashion and art? I mean, obviously Mcqueen is a really prime example, but like there are others like that you are actually, you know, very, very instrumental in sort of pushing that sort of movement along.
I think Mcqueen emerged in the early 90s with the whole Brit art phenomena like Damien Hirst. And they were all artists who very much inspired Mcqueen, and Mcqueen collected them too. He had a very big private collection of those contemporary artists. They shared similar themes like death, decay, destruction, and the HIV cause, which became very prominent in the early 90s in England, was something that inspired many artists, particularly Mcqueen.
Do you feel like this is sort of the beginning of like a whole sort of new appreciation of Alexander Mcqueen?
People were always aware of his genius, and I think when you see them all those works together, it does take a breath away in terms of his imagination. He had this extraordinary imagination, and he could actually manifest in a way that seemed very modern. So even when he looked back to history for inspiration, it still came across as very modern and contemporary. I think very few designers can do that.
You said you're not sure if it goes anywhere else, but what is the next piece for this?
But I think there'll be a show in his hometown to celebrate him as a designer. I think maybe an anniversary or something like that, but I think eventually there'll be another chapter for him.
Well, congratulations on an extraordinary, one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. It's really inspirational. So
Thank you very
thanks.
much.
What an amazing opportunity, and I am so grateful to Andrew and everyone at the museum, but especially my dear friend Jeffrey Nicholas Blair, who was really responsible for getting us in there. Well, there you have it, my top 3 faves from the Just Josh archive. Remember, I love to hear from you, so please write to me at justjosh@heretv.com, and tune in again next time for loads more fun. See you again.